Hello, my friends. My name is Gerdes. I'm just a professor trying to provide you context in the war in Ukraine. It is now November 15th, 2024, and this is the Daily Brief. So, 1,520 Russians are off the battlefield, 11 tanks, 21 armored fighting vehicles, 20 artillery systems, 77 vehicles, and fuel tanks. Now, that's not necessarily that high, although it's high. If you look at previous records, it's not even in the top 7 or 8, probably maybe not even in the top 10 of Russian casualties day over day. But it's still, the tempo is still high. We're not going to talk about the battlefield so much as other events today. So let's just keep moving here. Shot down 1 out of 2 Kh-59-69 cruise missiles. This is from Noel reports showing us what the Ministry of Defense has posted. And this might need to be updated because it doesn't talk about ballistic missiles while the Kyiv Post does. 25 out of 29 Shahed drones. There's damage to civilian infrastructure in Odesa. So here, this Kyiv Post. Rescue efforts are underway in Odesa at this hour after Russia attacked the city with ballistic missiles and drones, striking many homes and one of the city's central boiler facilities that provided heating to hundreds of buildings. Now, the heating setup is like a central boiler provides heating and it pushes it out to many sources. And that's important to understand how things work in Ukraine right now. And we'll come back to this at the very end about what an optimistic future might look like. Russian T continues. And again, they're claiming ballistic missiles, and they have a terrible time shooting down ballistic missiles. The difference, cruise missiles go quick and slow quick and low. Ballistic missiles go way up into almost outer space and then drop down, and they have just a terrible time trying to hit ballistic missiles. They're not very good at that at all. Residents of the city of Odessa under massive 2-hour Russian missile drone attack this evening, in which apartment buildings, energy facilities, and a church were all targeted. So none of that is military targets. All of that is civilian targets that, I mean, these are war crimes and nothing's happening. Okay, this is Oleksiy Goncharenko. He's a member of the Ukrainian parliament. He is at a UNESCO heritage site. Let's
I'm
listen to
now in the center of Odessa Historical Center, which is part of UNESCO World Heritage. And that's how this World Heritage looks today. Yesterday, late evening, here was a Russian drone attack. Iranian drones again attacked our city. One woman is killed. Many people are injured. Just watch what Russia is doing with Odessa, one of the most famous cities in the world. That's just absolutely residential area. Here you see the results, just one. Yesterday late evening, it was more than 7 locations of Russian attacks. With
But
the
of course, Russia doesn't actually care. Oh, it's a World Heritage site. It's just as much a target as anywhere else. I am putting this comment because this is how I feel every day. Every single day, I feel like I'm writing the same thing. Russia is trying to erase Ukraine, and we're not doing enough to stop them. That's spot on. Okay. Meanwhile, according to the Kyiv Post, the U.S. intends to transfer all the promised weapons to Ukraine before Biden leaves office, according to the Pentagon. But there's still a lot that's outstanding that could have been there already, and yeah. Okay. Okay, this is the British intelligence update, and it goes back a few days. It's November 15th. This goes back a little over a week to November 6th. On November 6, 2024, Ukraine almost certainly targeted the Caspian port of Kaspisk in Russia with an uncrewed aerial vehicle. The port highly likely hosted multiple Russian Navy vessels at the time, with at least 2 likely Gepard-class frigates sustaining damage. The extent of the damage is currently unknown. However, any damage to the vessels will highly likely be quickly repaired. But, and this is a very important but, the Russians never thought that Ukraine would hit them in the Caspian Sea. This is huge that they have to worry about their ships in the Caspian Sea, not just in the Black Sea, and that's really important. The Russian Caspian flotilla was likely used to launch mass attacks against Ukraine in 2022 and has continued to be used to launch infrequent attacks through 2023 and 2024. Ukraine likely attacked the Caspian flotilla in retaliation for these strikes on its territory. It is, however, unlikely that the Russian vessels damaged in the strike had been used to launch direct strikes on Ukrainian territory. Okay, so just so you're understanding, this is a big difference. I'd like it's not just hitting something in Sevastopol or hitting something in the Sea of Azov. This is big. Okay. Ukraine launched massive drone attack on Russia's southern Krasnodar region early on November 15th. Regional governor reported as Telegram channel said that the likely target of the attack could have been large Russian airbase near the city of Kremensk. Okay, and here's another, just a little bit more about it and what it actually looks like, this potential airbase. We just don't know what happened. But Russian Defense Ministry says air defenses destroyed 51 drones over Russia overnight, including at that airbase. So something happened, and we will find out. Maybe we'll see this in a defense update or a British intelligence update in a week to find out what actually happened. Okay, Russian military has been ordered to videotape the executions of Ukrainian POWs. How about that? According to a Russian POW, the commander of Russia's 155th Marine Brigade ordered the execution of Ukrainian POWs, which is a war crime, and instructed their heads be cut off. Overall, the number of executions of Ukrainian POWs in 2024 has quadrupled compared to the previous years of full-scale war. I mean, it's just here's a POW being interviewed. The commander gave the unit an order that no one planned to fulfill, that we turn on a camera and record a video if someone is captured from Ukrainian armed forces to cut off the head. Okay, so okay, now this is really interesting, and we've been talking for the last couple of days about Trump's picks for the cabinet and what Trump's policy will be, and how Trump's already affecting what's going on in Ukraine. For example, yesterday I was talking about how South Korea is now in a kind of wait and see posture about what will happen instead of providing lethal aid right now because they're upset about North Korea. They're waiting to see what the Trump administration is going to do before they provide the aid. And we know what Biden has been doing. So this is UATV in English. Due to Trump's victory, Ukraine is prioritizing security guarantees over territory. Did you hear that? Like they might even be thinking about like, even if we can't keep the territory, we need the security guarantees. But you had security guarantees back in 2014. You had the Minsk agreement, which was supposed to be an agreement, security assurances from the United States and Britain and Russia, and that didn't work out so well. The publication notes that Ukrainian officials have for months asserted that they would not concede any territory occupied by Russia in a peace settlement. However, with the newly elected U.S. president pushing for an accelerated negotiation timeline, Ukraine is now placing as much emphasis on obtaining security guarantees as where the demarcation line might be. So they're trying to not have to concede, but if they have to concede, they have to have security, which they're not likely to get outside of joining NATO. So, yeah, that's something. Michael McKay is the guy that's been doing the maps where it's showing how Russia is attacking 5 times here and 10 times there and 40 times there and that sort of thing. Said Ukraine was neutral when fascist Russia invaded in 2014. Ukraine was neutral when fascist Russia launched the broad offensive in 2022. If Ukraine had been in NATO, none of this would have happened. If Ukraine is admitted to NATO now, the war will end. Neutrality means war. And I think, it's hard to argue with that. If you have neutrality, you're going to have war in a short order. And I think that's just spot on. Okay, this is what I was talking about earlier. A Kyiv church has installed heat pumps And a hospital in Odesa has built solar panel stations as groups across Ukraine look to alternative energy sources in the face of continued Russian attacks on Ukraine's infrastructure. Analysts say that Ukraine can expect more long power cuts for the winter. So I showed you a picture of snow in, I think it was snow in Kharkiv yesterday, but yeah, this is the wave of the future. Now, there's an analog to this. Now, in the United States, Europe, developed countries, we see power lines and phone lines everywhere. Africa largely skipped the phone lines kind of step and went right to cell towers. And I think this is what might be part of the result of the war is that you'll see solar panels pop up everywhere just as a result of trying to have power so that they can heat their homes rather than reliance on the central boiler from the old Soviet days. And yeah, that might be the wave of the future. It's a silver lining to a very, very dark cloud. All right, my friends, that's all that I have. Thank you for their time. Thank you for the likes, the shares, the subscribes, and thank you for being the kind of person that cares about Ukraine.